My name is Patricia Keller. I'm 70 years old. I built Keller's Heritage Bakery with these hands over 40 years, carrying forward what my mother and grandmother started. Yesterday was Father's Day, and I heard my daughters on the phone. We need an action plan for Mom's money before she does something stupid with it. Today, every penny of that $2.5 million is gone. But here's what Diane and Lauren didn't know when they showed up at my door with legal papers and concerned faces instead of flowers and love. I'd already given them everything once before. Sold the original bakery building 20 years ago to pay for their dreams while I started over from nothing. And now, they wanted to take what I'd rebuilt. Wrong move, girls. See, when your own children start treating you like a bank account with a pulse, you learn something important about love. Real love doesn't come with conditions, and fake love gets exactly what it deserves. Nothing. This is the story of how I gave my daughters everything twice, and why I'll never make that mistake again. If you've ever wondered where the line is between family loyalty and self-respect, stay with me. Because what happened next will change how you think about money, family, and the price of being a good mother. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. Now, let me tell you about the day Diane and Lauren learned who they were really dealing with. Let me paint the picture first. Keller's Heritage Bakery wasn't just some corner shop in Memphis. My grandmother Eunice started it in 1952, right here on Beale Street, when Black-owned businesses were fighting for every inch of respect. She made sweet potato pies and dinner rolls that people lined up around the block for. My mother Ruby expanded it in the 70 seconds, adding catering services that fed everyone from church gatherings to Stax record sessions. And me, I took over in 1984 at 30 years old, fresh from losing my father and determined to honor what 3 generations of Keller women had built. Thomas, my husband, used to joke that I loved that bakery more than I loved him. He wasn't entirely wrong. I was there every morning at 4 for 40 years, never missed a day. Not when Diane had the flu. Not when Lauren broke her arm. Not even when Thomas was dying in the hospital 2 years ago, because someone had to keep the ovens running. Someone had to keep the legacy alive. The bakery sat on Beale Street in a brick building, with our name painted in gold letters. Keller's Heritage Bakery, Est, 1952. 3 generations of Black women who'd built something that mattered. By the 1,990 seconds, we were doing well. Real well. Not just walk-in customers, but wholesale contracts with hotels, restaurants, even FedEx Forum for game days. We were pulling in serious money. Money I carefully saved and invested, the way my mother taught me. Diane was always the ambitious one. Straight-A student, debate team captain, scholarship to Fisk. But Fisk wasn't enough. She wanted a master's degree in human resources from some prestigious program up north. "Mama, this is my shot at the big leagues," she'd say. "HR directors make 6 figures. I can build a real career." Lauren was different, quieter, more practical. She wanted to get into real estate right after college. Buy property young, Mama. Build equity instead of paying rent. That's how wealth works. Smart girls, both of them. Thomas and I were proud. We'd raised daughters who thought big, who wanted more than what Memphis handed to Black women by default. Here's what they didn't know. Their grandmother Ruby had died with more debt than assets. Left me the bakery, sure, but also equipment loans, back taxes, and a building that needed $80,000 in repairs just to stay up to code. It took me 12 years to dig us out of that hole. So when Diane came to me in 2003 needing $45,000 for her graduate program, and Lauren needed $35,000 for her first investment property down payment in 2004, the timing was brutal. "Don't worry about it, baby," I told each of them. "Your grandmother left some money. She'd want you to have opportunities." Small lie, easier than explaining I'd sold our building and was leasing it back from a developer. Easier than admitting I'd cashed out my retirement accounts and paid the penalty. Easier than telling them their mama was starting over at 53 with nothing but debt and determination. But watching Diane walk across that stage with her master's degree, seeing Lauren get the keys to her first rental property, it was worth it. Worth every 4 a.m. alarm for the next 20 years, worth every ache in these old knees, worth rebuilding everything from scratch. That's what mothers do. We sacrifice. We don't keep score, we just love. Or at least that's what I thought love was supposed to look like. The girls did well for themselves. Diane landed an HR director position at a healthcare company downtown. Lauren got her broker's license, started flipping houses, buying low and selling high. Both married decent men. Both moved to bigger houses in Germantown, away from the old neighborhood where Keller's had its roots. Both got busy. Really busy. The weekly Sunday dinners turned into monthly phone calls, then holiday visits, then just Christmas and maybe Easter if their schedules allowed. I understood. Success takes time. Success takes focus. Success means you don't have time to visit your mama's bakery on Beale Street anymore. When Thomas died 2 years ago from colon cancer, both girls came to the funeral, stayed for the weekend, helped me sort through his clothes, his tools, his collection of old jazz records he'd loved. "Mama, you should think about selling this big house," Diane had said. "Move into something smaller, easier to maintain at your age. Or one of those senior communities," Lauren added. "You know, where they have activities, people your age to socialize with." Made sense, I suppose. I was rattling around in a 4-bedroom house by myself, but I wasn't ready. The house still smelled like Thomas's coffee every morning, still had his reading chair by the window, still had photos of the girls from when they were small covering every wall, so I stayed, and they went back to their busy lives in Germantown. Which brings us to Father's Day 2024, June 16th, the day everything changed. I was in my kitchen making breakfast when the chest pains started. Not the sharp, dramatic kind you see in movies. More like someone was sitting on my chest, heavy, persistent. The kind of pain that whispers, "Patricia, your time might be coming sooner than you think." I'd had episodes before. Small ones. Doctor. Martinez had warned me about stress, about slowing down, about actually taking the blood pressure medication he prescribed instead of leaving the bottle on my nightstand. But this felt different. Bigger. More insistent. I fumbled for my phone, thinking maybe I should call 911, then stopped. What if it was nothing? What if I ended up in the ER over indigestion and a panic attack? Instead, I called Diane. She always answered. Always efficient, always organized, always knew what to do in a crisis. "Hey, Mama." Her voice was bright, professional. The voice she used at work. "Happy Father's Day. I was just about to call you to check in." Father's Day. I'd forgotten. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Baby, I'm not feeling so great. Having some chest pains. I think maybe I should get to a hospital." "Oh no, Mama. Okay, do you want me to come get you? If you could." "I don't think I should drive myself. Let me just, hold on 1 second. I need to check something." I heard her typing, probably looking at her calendar. "Mama, today's really not great for me. Brad and I have that brunch thing with his boss, and it's kind of important for his promotion. Can you call Lauren, see if she's available?" Something in my chest tightened, and it wasn't the pain. "Sure, honey. I'll try your sister." "Great. But Mama, if it's really serious, just call 911, okay? Don't wait around." "I'm sorry, I really am. It's just this brunch has been scheduled for months, and Brad's boss is only in town today." "I understand. Go to your brunch. Love you. Call me later and let me know you're okay." The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, feeling foolish. Here I was, possibly having a heart attack, and I was worried about inconveniencing my daughters. I tried Lauren next. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. The chest pain was intensifying now. I really did need to get to a hospital. I was about to call 911 when my phone buzzed. A text from Lauren, in showing. "Call you back in an hour?" An hour. I stared at the message. Then I set the phone down on the kitchen table and closed my eyes, trying to breathe through the pain. That's when I heard it. Voices coming from my phone. I looked down. The screen showed I was still connected to Diane. The call hadn't ended. She must have accidentally left the line open when she thought she'd hung up, and now she was talking to someone else. To Lauren, I realized, as my daughter's voice joined the conversation. They couldn't hear me, but I could hear them perfectly. "I told you she'd start having problems," Diane was saying. "She's 70, Lauren. This was inevitable." "I know, but the timing is terrible. Josh and I just made an offer on that property in Collierville. We're stretched thin as it is. Listen, we need to be smart about this. If Mama ends up in the hospital, or worse, we need an action plan." Action plan. Those 2 words hit me harder than the chest pain. "What do you mean?" Lauren asked. "I mean, we need to make sure she doesn't do anything stupid with her money before she's gone. Think about it. She owns that house in Central Gardens outright, plus whatever she got from selling the bakery, plus Daddy's life insurance. We're talking serious money. How much do you think?" I looked up the house on Zillow. At least $650,000, probably more. And the bakery building sold for what, $800,000 back in 2018? Even if she spent some, even if she has expenses, she's got to be sitting on at least $2 million, maybe more. $2.5 million, actually, but who's counting? Jesus, I had no idea, Lauren said. That's because Mama never talks about money, never tells us anything. She just lives in that house alone, acting like she's barely scraping by while she's sitting on a fortune. So what's the action plan? My hands were shaking now, not from the pain, from what I was hearing, from my own daughters discussing my death and my money in the same breath like they were connected, like one led naturally to the other. "We need to talk to her about updating her will," Diane said. "Make sure everything's clear, no ambiguity. And honestly, Lauren, I think we should discuss power of attorney, just in case she starts declining cognitively." Power of attorney? Mama's sharp as ever. Is she, though? Think about it. She's 70, living alone in that big house, still trying to run that teaching program at the bakery like she's 40. That's not normal. Most people her age have slowed down, retired properly. The fact that she can't let go, that she's still working all the time, that might be a sign. A sign of what? Of not thinking clearly, of poor judgment. Lauren, she works with teenagers at that teaching kitchen 40 hours a week, for free. She's giving away her time and energy to random kids from the foster system when she could be enjoying retirement, when she could be helping her own family. That's not rational behavior. I felt something crack inside me, not my heart, something deeper. "She does seem obsessed with that program," Lauren admitted. "Remember Christmas? All she talked about was Marcus this, Sarah that. Like those kids matter more than her own grandchildren." Exactly, and that's why we need to act now, while we still can, before she starts writing checks to these random people, before she decides to leave everything to some charity, before we lose control of the situation entirely. Control. They wanted control. Of me. Of my money. Of my life. "What do you want me to do?" Lauren asked. "Back me up. When I bring up the will conversation, support me. Make it seem like we're worried about her, not worried about the money. Make it about love and concern and wanting to help manage things so she doesn't have to stress. She's going to see right through that. Not if we're careful, not if we're gentle about it. Mama's old school. She wants to believe her daughters care about her. She wants to think family matters more than money. We can use that. Use that. Use my love for them as a weapon against me. When should we do this? Lauren asked. Soon. Like this week. The chest pain thing is actually perfect timing. We can frame it as being responsible, making sure everything's in order in case something happens. She can't argue with that logic. What if she says no? What if she refuses to discuss it? Diane laughed. Not a warm laugh, a calculating laugh. Then we have a different conversation about her capacity, about whether someone living alone at 70, having chest pains, still working full-time for free with foster kids, is really competent to manage $2 million in assets. We document everything, every forgetful moment, every time she seems confused, every decision that seems irrational, and if necessary, we get a doctor to evaluate her. You want to have Mama declared incompetent? I want to protect our inheritance. There's a difference. Our inheritance. Money I'd earned. Money Thomas and I had built through 40 years of 4 a.m. mornings and missed family dinners and choosing the bakery over everything else, and they were already calling it theirs. The chest pain was subsiding now, or maybe I just stopped noticing it. There was a different kind of pain taking over, the kind that comes from realizing your children see you as an obstacle, not a person. As an asset to be managed, not a mother to be loved. I don't know, Diane. This feels wrong. What feels wrong is Mama hoarding $2 million while you're struggling with bad property investments and I'm drowning in student loans. What feels wrong is her giving free baking lessons to strangers while her own grandchildren barely know her. What feels wrong is watching her work herself to death for people who aren't even family when she could be helping us. Her actual daughters. There it was, the truth underneath everything. They were struggling financially, and they resented me for not fixing it, for not opening my wallet and solving all their problems the way I had when they were younger. I just lost $80,000 on that Fraser flip, Lauren said quietly. The foundation was worse than the inspection showed. I'm underwater on it. Can't sell it, can't rent it for enough to cover the mortgage. Josh is furious. We might lose our house if I can't turn this around. And I'm still paying $1,200 a month in student loans from that master's degree I got 20 years ago, Diane added. Do you know what that's like? Being 45 and still in debt from your education? Meanwhile, Mama sits on $2 million and acts like she doesn't have a responsibility to help her own children. A responsibility. That's what they thought. That my money, my sacrifice, my 40 years of building something from nothing came with an obligation to fund their lifestyle choices. That being their mother meant being their bank. So, what's the plan? Lauren asked again. I'm going to call her back in a few minutes. Act concerned about the chest pains. Suggest I come over today to check on her. While I'm there, I'll bring up the will conversation. Gentle, loving. Just making sure everything's in order. You call tomorrow, same energy, worried daughter. And then later this week, we both visit together, present a united front. By then, she'll be softened up, ready to agree. And if she doesn't? Then we move to phase 2. Start documenting everything that makes her look incompetent. Take pictures of anything cluttered in her house, note any bills that seem unpaid, any confusion, anything we can use. Build a case, get Jake and Emma to mention things Grandma forgot or got confused about, create a paper trail. They were planning to use my grandchildren against me. To coach Jake and Emma to lie about their grandmother's mental state. To manufacture evidence of incompetence where none existed. That's pretty extreme, Lauren said, but her voice wasn't horrified, just uncertain. We're talking about $2 million, Lauren. That's Jake's college fund. That's Emma's future. That's our financial security. If we have to be extreme to protect it, then we be extreme. This isn't about being cruel. It's about being smart. About making sure family money stays in the family. instead of going to some random charity or foster kids who aren't our responsibility. There was a pause. Then Lauren spoke. Okay, I'm in. What do you need me to do? Just follow my lead. Support everything I say. Make Mama feel loved and worried about at the same time. Make her think we're doing this for her benefit, not ours. I can do that. Good. I'm going to hang up now and call her back. Remember, we're concerned daughters. We're loving daughters. We just want to help manage things so Mama doesn't have to stress in her old age. Got it. Call me after and let me know how it goes. Will do. And Lauren, we can't mess this up. If Mama figures out what we're doing, if she gets suspicious, she might shut us out completely, might change her will out of spite. So we have to be perfect. Understand? I understand. The line went quiet. Then it went dead. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the phone in my hand. The chest pain was completely gone now. Turned out it wasn't my heart that was breaking. It was something else. Something that didn't have a medical name. My daughters, the babies I'd nursed and raised and sacrificed everything for, had just spent 15 minutes planning how to steal from me, how to manipulate me, how to declare me incompetent if I didn't cooperate, how to use my grandchildren as weapons, how to take everything I'd built and call it love. I thought about the bakery building I'd sold in 2003 to pay for Diane's graduate degree, how I'd told her it was inheritance money so she wouldn't feel guilty, how I'd started over from nothing at 53, leasing back my own building, rebuilding my business one loaf at a time. I thought about the down payment I'd given Lauren in 2004, money that came from cashing out my retirement accounts and paying brutal penalties. How I'd worked an extra 10 years just to rebuild what I'd given away. How I'd told her it was grandmother's money, so she'd feel proud instead of indebted. I thought about every 4 a.m. alarm, every missed school play because someone had to run the ovens, every holiday I'd worked because the bakery needed me more than my family seemed to, every sacrifice I'd made thinking I was building something for them, building security for them, showing them what love looked like. And they thought I owed them more. My phone rang. Diane calling back, right on schedule, playing her part, the concerned daughter checking on Mama's chest pains. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my contacts and scrolled to a different name. Richard Morrison. My attorney. The man who'd helped me structure my estate after Thomas died. The man who knew exactly what I had and where it all was. He answered on the second ring. Patricia, how are you? Richard, I need to make some changes to my will. Big changes, and I need to do it fast. What kind of changes are we talking about? I looked around my kitchen, at the photos of Diane and Lauren on the walls, at their children's drawings stuck to my refrigerator with magnets, at 70 years of believing that family meant something. That sacrifice would be honored, that love would be returned. The kind where my daughters don't get a single penny. Richard was quiet for a moment. Patricia, that's a significant decision. Are you sure you want to do this right now? Maybe take some time to think it through? I've had 70 years to think about what family means, Richard. I just spent the last hour learning I was wrong about all of it. How much more time do I need? What happened? So I told him. About the chest pains. About the phone call that didn't disconnect. About every word I'd heard. About the action plan and the power of attorney and the manufactured evidence and using my grandchildren as weapons. I told him everything, while my voice stayed steady and my hands stopped shaking because anger, I was discovering, was much more useful than heartbreak. When I finished, Richard let out a long breath. That's elder financial abuse. What they're planning is actually criminal in Tennessee. You could press charges. I don't want to press charges. I want to protect what's mine. And I want to make sure they understand that love doesn't come with a price tag, that you can't treat your mother like an ATM and expect her to reward you for it. Okay. Walk me through what you want to do. Everything goes to charity. The house, the investments, the life insurance, everything. Set up a foundation. the Keller Legacy Fund, dedicated to helping foster kids learn trades. Baking, cooking, whatever gets them on their feet. Kids who aged out of the system and need actual support, not just empty promises. That's approximately $2.5 million. You want all of it going to foster care programs? Every penny. My daughters get nothing. Not the house, not the jewelry, not Thomas's watch collection, not a single photograph, nothing. Patricia, I have to ask, is there any chance you're making this decision emotionally, in the heat of the moment? Because once we execute these changes, once you make this public, there's no going back. Family relationships don't recover from this. Good. Because the family relationship I thought I had doesn't actually exist. What exists is two grown women in their 40s who see their 70-year-old mother as a retirement plan, who are planning to have me declared incompetent if I don't hand over my money voluntarily, who are willing to use my grandchildren against me. Those aren't relationships worth recovering, Richard. Fair enough. When do you want to do this? Tomorrow. Can you draft everything by tomorrow? I'll have it ready by noon. But Patricia, one more thing. If you're going to do this, you should consider telling them yourself, before they find out through legal channels. Give them a chance to understand why. Why would I do that? Because you'll regret it if you don't. Not because they deserve an explanation, but because you deserve closure. You deserve to look them in the eye and tell them exactly what you heard, what they planned, what it cost them. I thought about that, about facing Diane and Lauren, about watching their faces when they realized I knew everything, about giving them a chance to apologize, to explain, to beg forgiveness. You're right, I said finally. I'll tell them, after the will is changed, after everything's protected, after there's nothing they can do about it, then they can know exactly why they lost everything. I'll have the papers ready tomorrow at noon. Come to my office. Bring 2 witnesses. We'll make it official. After I hung up with Richard, I sat in the quiet of my kitchen. The chest pain was completely gone. Turned out it wasn't my heart that needed attention. It was my eyes. They'd finally opened. My phone buzzed. A text from Diane. Mama, sorry I missed your call back. Is everything okay? Should I come over? I stared at the message. The performance was beginning. The concerned daughter routine, the loving manipulation. I texted back, I'm fine, just indigestion, no need to come over. Are you sure? I can cancel my brunch if you need me. No, you enjoy your brunch. We'll talk soon. Okay, love you, Mama. Love you. 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they just felt like strategy. Like the opening move in a game I hadn't realized I was playing. Another text came in. This one from Lauren. Hey Mama, Diane said you weren't feeling well earlier. You okay? They were coordinating, sticking to the script. Both daughters suddenly concerned after months of barely calling. I'm fine, baby. Just a little scare. Nothing serious. Thank God. You really scared us. Listen, I was thinking maybe I should come by this week. Check on you. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. There it was. Phase 1 of their plan. Lauren visiting to soften me up. Then Diane. Then both together. The united front. The loving daughters, just wanting to help Mama with her affairs. That would be nice. Let's plan for next week, though. I need a few days to rest. Of course. Whatever you need. Love you. Love you. Said so easily. Meant so little. I spent the rest of Father's Day alone in my house. Thomas's house. Our house. The house my daughters wanted to inherit while I was still living in it. I walked through every room, looking at 40 years of memories, photos of birthday parties and graduations, report cards on the refrigerator, heights marked on the doorframe where I'd measured the girls every year. This was supposed to be theirs someday. The house, the money, the legacy, everything Thomas and I had built was meant to give them security, opportunity, the foundation we never had. But somewhere along the way, security became entitlement, opportunity became expectation, and foundation became something they thought they could demand instead of earn. I found myself in Thomas's study, the room I'd barely touched since he died. His reading chair still had the indent where he'd sat every evening. His books were still on the shelves. His jazz records still stacked by the old turntable. They didn't even remember, I said aloud to the empty room. It's Father's Day and they didn't even think about you, didn't visit your grave, didn't call to share a memory. Just called to check if I was dying yet so they could start dividing up what you left behind. Thomas would have been heartbroken. He'd adored those girls. Spoiled them, really, in ways I never did. He was the fun parent, the one who said yes when I said no. The one who believed they could do no wrong. You'd tell me I'm being too harsh, I continued. You'd say they're just scared, just worried about their own families. You'd want me to forgive them. But Thomas wasn't here. Thomas didn't hear what I heard, didn't know what they'd planned. I pulled out the photo album from his desk drawer, pictures of Diane and Lauren as children, gap-toothed smiles and Sunday dresses, Halloween costumes I'd sewn by hand, birthday cakes I'd baked at midnight after working all day, Christmas mornings when Thomas and I had saved for months to buy them the gifts they wanted. When did it stop being enough? When did everything we gave become insufficient? When did love turn into debt? I closed the album and put it back in the drawer. Tomorrow, I'd go to Richard's office. Tomorrow, I'd sign papers that would change everything. Tomorrow, I'd make sure that the girls who planned to steal from me would inherit exactly what they deserved. Nothing. The next morning, I woke at 4 a.m. Old habits. 40 years of bakery mornings had trained my body to rise before the sun, even though I didn't own the bakery anymore. Even though I'd sold it in 2018 when the arthritis in my hands got too bad to knead dough for 12 hours a day, I made coffee in the dark kitchen, the way Thomas and I used to. He'd read the paper while I planned the day's production. We'd talk about the girls, about the business, about nothing important and everything important at the same time. Those quiet morning moments were the foundation of 45 years of marriage. I miss you, I said to the empty kitchen. I miss having someone who loved me without calculating what I was worth. At 11:30, I drove to Richard's office in East Memphis. I'd asked Clara and James from church to meet me there as witnesses. Good people. People who'd known me for 30 years and never once asked me for money. Richard had everything prepared. The new will was thick, official, final. I want to walk you through this one more time, Patricia. Make sure you understand exactly what you're doing. I understand. Everything goes to the Keller Legacy Fund. The foundation will provide trade education for foster youth aging out of the system. Nothing goes to my daughters. Nothing goes to their children. The house gets sold, proceeds go to the fund, investment accounts, all of it. Clean break. There's no going back from this. Once you sign, once it's executed and notarized, this is your legal will. If something happens to you tomorrow, this is what happens to your estate. Good. That's exactly what I want. Clara touched my arm. Patricia, honey, are you sure? I know Diane and Lauren. They're good girls. Whatever happened between you, is it really worth this? I looked at this woman who'd brought me casseroles when Thomas died, who'd sat with me in church every Sunday for 3 decades, who'd never once looked at me and seen a bank account. Clara, if someone planned to have you declared mentally incompetent so they could steal your life savings, would you reward them for it? Her face changed. They wouldn't. They did. I heard every word. James shook his head. I don't understand people anymore. What happened to honoring your mother and father? What happened to family meaning something more than money? I don't know, James, but I'm not going to fund their disrespect. I'm not going to spend my last years worrying that every decision I make will be used as evidence of incompetence. I'm not going to live in fear of my own children. I signed the papers. Clara and James witnessed. Richard notarized. It took less than 15 minutes to undo a lifetime of believing my daughters would honor what I'd built. "It's done," Richard said. "The old will is void. This is your official last will and testament. Do you want me to inform your daughters?" "Not yet. I want to tell them myself. But first, I want to see what they do next. I want to watch them execute their plan. Let them think they're winning. That's risky. What if something happens to you before you can tell them? Then they find out when this will goes to probate. Either way, they get the same result. Nothing. But I'd prefer to see their faces when they realize I knew everything all along." I drove home in a daze. Everything was different now. The house wasn't my daughter's inheritance anymore. It was just a house. The money wasn't their future. It was going to kids who actually needed it. Kids who hadn't spent the last 20 years treating me like an obligation. That evening, Lauren called. Right on schedule. "Hey, Mama. I was thinking, how about I come over tomorrow? Bring Emma. We could have dinner. Just the three of us like old times." Old times. When was the last time Lauren had brought Emma to visit? Last Christmas? Maybe Thanksgiving? "That sounds lovely, baby. What time? Around 6? I'll bring something." "You shouldn't have to cook. You don't have to do that." "I want to, Mama. I've been thinking, I don't visit enough, don't spend enough time with you. I want to change that." How convenient. This sudden desire to spend time with me had nothing to do with the action plan she and Diane had discussed. Nothing at all. 6 o'clock works. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you, Mama. Love you too, baby. I hung up and laughed. Not a happy laugh, a bitter one. The performance was continuing, Lauren playing the devoted daughter, softening me up before Diane arrived to discuss the will. The next evening, Lauren showed up at exactly 6, with takeout from Gus's Fried Chicken and Emma in tow. My granddaughter was 13 now, all long legs and attitude, glued to her phone the way kids were these days. "Hi, Grandma." Emma hugged me quickly, perfunctorily, then immediately sat on the couch and went back to her screen. "Baby girl, put that phone away," Lauren said. "We're here to visit with Grandma." Emma rolled her eyes but complied. I watched this interaction and wondered if Lauren had coached her, had told her to be extra sweet to Grandma, to notice if Grandma seemed forgetful or confused, to gather evidence for their plan. We ate dinner at the kitchen table. Lauren asked questions about my health, about my daily routine, about whether I was managing okay, living alone in this big house. "I'm managing just fine," I said, "same as always." "It's just, you're 70 now, Mama. Things get harder. Things we used to do easily become challenging. There's no shame in admitting you need help." "I don't need help. I'm healthy, sharp, taking care of everything just fine." "Of course you are." Lauren's tone was soothing, patronizing, the voice you'd use with a child. "But you know, it wouldn't hurt to have a backup plan, just in case. Have you thought about updating your will? Making sure everything's clear about your wishes?" There it was. Less than an hour into the visit and she was already following the script, bringing up the will, making it seem casual, making it seem like concern. "My will is up to date. Just updated it yesterday, actually." Lauren's face brightened. "Oh, that's great. Really smart. Can I ask what you decided? Just so I know. So we can honor your wishes when the time comes." When the time comes, not if, when. Like my death was inevitable and imminent and something they were already preparing for. Everything goes to charity, a foundation I'm setting up for foster kids, the Keller Legacy Fund. Every penny, the house, the investments, the life insurance, all of it. Lauren's smile froze. "What?" "You heard me. Everything goes to kids who actually need it, kids who don't have parents to sacrifice for them, kids who won't plan to steal from me when I get old." "Mama, what are you talking about? Why would you do that?" I pulled out my phone. opened the voice memo app, played the recording I'd made of their conversation from Father's Day. Their voices filled my kitchen, crystal clear, unmistakable. "We need an action plan for Mom's money. How much do you think she has?" "At least $2 million, maybe more. We need to talk to her about updating her will. If she refuses, we document everything. Build a case for incompetence." I watched Lauren's face drain of color as she listened to her own voice plotting against me. Watched her realize I'd heard everything, known everything, and acted accordingly. When the recording ended, the silence in my kitchen was absolute. Emma looked up from her phone, confused by the sudden tension. "Mom, what was that? What's going on?" Lauren couldn't speak. She just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to find words that wouldn't come. "Your mother and your Aunt Diane," I said, my voice calm and steady, "spent Father's Day planning how to steal from me, how to have me declared incompetent if I didn't cooperate, how to use you and your cousin Jake to manufacture evidence that I was losing my mind. And they thought I'd never find out." "Mama, I can explain. That conversation, you didn't hear the whole context. I heard enough. I heard you call my money our inheritance, like it belonged to you. I heard you discuss using my grandchildren as weapons against me. I heard you plan to manipulate me into signing over power of attorney. What context makes that acceptable, Lauren? We were just talking, just venting. We didn't actually mean any of it." "You didn't mean it? So when Diane called you yesterday to coordinate this visit, to have you come over and soften me up before she arrived to discuss my will, that wasn't real? This wasn't you following through on the exact plan I heard you make?" Lauren's face crumbled. "Mama, please. I'm struggling. The house flip went bad. I lost $80,000. Josh and I might lose our home. I'm desperate." I wasn't thinking clearly. "So desperation makes it okay to plot against your mother? To plan to steal from the woman who gave you everything? You don't understand what it's like. You had the bakery, you had Daddy, you built something. I'm trying to build something too, but everything keeps falling apart. I needed help. I needed you. You needed my money. There's a difference." Emma stood up, her young face pale. "Grandma, my mom wouldn't really do that. She wouldn't try to steal from you." I looked at my granddaughter, 13 years old, and still believing her mother was incapable of cruelty, still innocent enough to think family meant unconditional goodness. "Baby girl, I love you, but your mother absolutely would, and did, and the only reason she's sorry now is because she got caught." "That's not fair," Lauren said, finding her voice. "You've always had money, always had security. You don't know what it's like to struggle, to fail, to watch everything you worked for disappear. You never needed anyone's help because you were always fine on your own." "I wasn't always fine. I sold my bakery building in 2003 to pay for your sister's graduate school. Told her it was inheritance money so she wouldn't feel guilty. Started over from nothing at 53. Do you know what that's like? Rebuilding your entire life in your 50 seconds because you gave everything to your children?" Lauren went still. "What? And your down payment in 2004? That came from cashing out my retirement accounts. Paid massive penalties, set myself back 10 years, but I told you it was from your grandmother so you'd feel proud instead of indebted. So you could start your real estate career without the weight of knowing what it cost me." "I didn't know." "Of course, you didn't know. Because I protected you from the truth. I sacrificed without keeping score. I gave without expecting anything back. And you repaid that by planning to have me declared incompetent so you could take what little I managed to rebuild." Emma was crying now, quiet tears running down her face. Lauren reached for her daughter, but Emma pulled away. "You were going to use me," Emma said. "You were going to make me lie about Grandma, say she forgot things, say she was confused." "Honey, no. I would never. You just said it on that recording. You and Aunt Diane were going to coach Jake and me. Make us help build a case against her." Lauren looked at me, desperate. "Mama, please. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But don't punish Emma for it. Don't cut her out of your life because I was stupid." "I'm not cutting Emma out of anything. I'm protecting what's mine from people who see me as an obstacle instead of a mother. Emma is welcome in my life anytime she wants. But you, Lauren, you're going to have to earn your way back, if that's even possible." "How? How do I earn it back?" "I don't know if you can. I don't know if trust, once broken this completely, can ever be repaired. I don't know if I'll ever look at you again without hearing your voice on that recording planning my exploitation." My phone rang. Diane, right on cue. Her turn in the coordinated plan. I answered on speaker. "Hello, Diane." "Hey, Mama. Lauren there yet?" "She is. We're having a wonderful conversation." "Good, good. Listen, I was thinking maybe I should come over too. Join you girls. We could all have dinner together. I feel like we haven't done that in forever." "We haven't, but tonight's not good. Lauren and I are discussing something important. Something you'll want to hear about too." "What's that?" "My new will. The one where you and Lauren inherit nothing. The one where everything goes to foster kids who actually appreciate support instead of demanding it. Would you like to come over and discuss that?" The line went silent. Then, "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the recording I have of you and Lauren planning to steal from me. The action plan you made. The power of attorney scheme. All of it. I heard every word, Diane. And I made sure you'll never see a penny of what your father and I built." Diane's voice came through the speaker, sharp and panicked. "Mama, you can't do that. You can't just cut us out. We're your daughters. We're your family. Family doesn't plot to have their mother declared incompetent. Family doesn't plan to steal. Family doesn't use grandchildren as weapons. You taught me that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, Diane. Thank you for that lesson. This is insane. You're overreacting. We were just talking, just discussing options in case you needed help someday. I have the recording. Every word. Want me to play it for you so you can hear yourself calling my money, our inheritance, while I was still alive? Discussing how to manufacture evidence of my incompetence? Planning to manipulate me?" Diane was quiet for a long moment. "How did you get that recording?" "You accidentally left the line open when you thought you'd hung up. I heard everything, the whole conversation, and I've been watching you execute your plan ever since. Lauren's visit tonight wasn't about love. It was about following the script you two wrote together. Mama, you don't understand. I'm drowning in student loan debt. $1,200 a month for 20 years for a degree that was supposed to change my life. I'm 45 years old and still paying for an education you could have helped with. I did help. I sold my building. I gave you $45,000 in 2003, told you it was inheritance so you wouldn't feel guilty. Spent the next 15 years rebuilding what I sacrificed for your dreams." The silence on the other end was deafening. "You told me that money came from grandmother. I lied to protect you, to let you believe you'd earned your success instead of buying it with your mother's future, and this is how you repay that sacrifice, by demanding more. By planning to take everything else. I didn't know. If I'd known what it cost you, I would never have asked. Would you? Or would you have just felt entitled to it because I'm your mother and mothers are supposed to sacrifice everything? When does it end, Diane? When do I stop being your bank and start being a person you respect?" Lauren was crying openly now, her face in her hands. Emma sat frozen on the couch, her world reshaping itself as she watched her mother and aunt revealed as something other than what she'd believed them to be. "What do you want from us?" Diane asked, her voice breaking. "You want us to apologize? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Mama. I was wrong. We were wrong. Please don't do this. Your apology means nothing when the only reason you're giving it is because you got caught. You're not sorry you planned it. You're sorry I found out. That's not true, isn't it?" If that call hadn't stayed connected, if I hadn't heard your conversation, you'd be at my house right now executing your plan, manipulating me, building your case, using my grandchildren. The only difference between yesterday and today is that I know. Your intentions haven't changed, just your strategy. So, what now? Lauren asked through her tears. You're really gonna cut us off completely? Never speak to us again? Keep us from our inheritance? What inheritance, Lauren? The money I earned isn't your inheritance. It's mine. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm competent. And I'm choosing to give it to people who need it, instead of people who feel entitled to it. That's not punishment. That's consequences. Diane's voice turned cold. You're making a mistake. We could contest this will, argue that you weren't of sound mind when you changed it, that you were paranoid, irrational, suffering from cognitive decline. Go ahead and try. I had a full cognitive evaluation done 2 days ago. Dr. Martinez has it all documented. I'm sharper than most 50-year-olds. Any lawyer you hire will tell you that you don't have a case. And if you try to contest this, I'll make that recording public. Let everyone at Greater Hope Baptist hear exactly what kind of daughters you are. Let your employers hear it. Let your friends hear it. End of crates. Let Jake and Emma hear their mothers planning to exploit their grandmother. You wouldn't. Try me. I've got nothing left to lose, Diane. You two already took what mattered. You took my trust, my belief that I'd raised good women, my faith that family meant something. What do I care if the whole world knows the truth? Emma stood up suddenly. I want to leave. Mom, I want to go home. Lauren reached for her, but Emma stepped back. Don't touch me. You were going to make me lie. You were going to use me to hurt Grandma. Baby, I wasn't thinking clearly. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. This is something else. This is mean. This is wrong. Emma walked to me, hugged me tight. I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't know what Mom was planning. I would never have helped her. I held my granddaughter, this child caught between her mother's greed and her grandmother's heartbreak. I know, baby. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. Can I still visit you? Even if Mom can't? I looked at Lauren over Emma's head, saw the pain in my daughter's face, the realization that she'd lost more than money. She'd lost her child's respect. Of course you can visit, anytime you want. Diane's voice came through the phone, sharp with anger now instead of pleading. Fine, keep your money, give it all to strangers. But don't expect us to be there when you're old and sick and actually need help. Don't expect us to take care of you in your final years. You're on your own, Mama. I've always been on my own, Diane. I just didn't realize it until now. I hung up. Lauren gathered her purse with shaking hands. Emma stayed close to me, her arm around my waist. Mom, are we really leaving? Yes, Grandma made her choice. She chose strangers over her own family. No, I said quietly. I chose dignity over being exploited. I chose self-respect over being manipulated. I chose honesty over watching my own daughters treat me like a bank account with a pulse. Those aren't the same things, Lauren. She left without another word, but Emma turned at the door. I'll call you Grandma, I promise. I'll be here, baby girl. The door closed. I stood in my empty house, in the silence that followed, and felt the weight of what I'd done settle over me like a blanket. Heavy, necessary, irrevocable. The next 6 months were the loneliest of my life. Lonelier than when Thomas died. Lonelier than any of the 4 a.m. mornings I'd spent in the bakery. Because this loneliness was different. It was chosen. It was necessary. But it hurt in ways I hadn't prepared for. Emma called every week. She'd sneak away from her mother's watchful eye and talk to me for hours. She told me about school, about her friends, about how things at home were tense and uncomfortable, how Lauren barely spoke anymore, how she'd heard her parents fighting about money late at night, how her father Josh blamed Lauren for destroying the relationship with me. Grandma, Mom cries a lot, Emma said one evening. She looks at old pictures of you and her and just cries. Baby, that's not your burden to carry. What happened between your mother and me is between us. But she's sorry. Really sorry. Can't you forgive her? Sorry doesn't erase planning to steal from me. Sorry doesn't undo using you as a weapon. Sorry is just a word people say when they get caught, not when they're actually remorseful. She lost the Fraser property, had to short sale it. They're talking about selling our house too, moving somewhere cheaper. I felt something twist in my chest. Not guilt. Not exactly. But something uncomfortable. My daughter was losing her home, while I sat on a paid-off house worth $650,000. While the foundation I'd established sat with $2.5 million ready to help strangers. That's unfortunate. But it's not my responsibility to fix your mother's bad business decisions. I know. I just thought you should know. That she's really struggling. After I hung up, I sat in the dark wondering if I was being too harsh. If punishing Lauren and Diane for their greed meant I was becoming cruel. If setting boundaries meant I'd lost my capacity for mercy. Diane never called, never reached out. I heard through church friends that she'd told everyone I was suffering from dementia, that I'd changed my will in a state of paranoia and confusion, that she and Lauren were heartbroken but respecting my delusions. Pastor Williams came to visit one afternoon in October. He sat in my living room drinking the sweet tea I'd made, looking uncomfortable. Patricia, I need to talk to you about something difficult. I know what Diane's been saying, that I'm losing my mind, that the will change was irrational. She's concerned. They both are. And as your pastor, I have to ask, are you sure you're making decisions clearly? Are you sure this isn't grief or anger clouding your judgment? I pulled out the recording, played it for him right there in my living room, watched his face change as he heard my daughter's voices planning my exploitation. When it ended, he sat back heavily in his chair. Sweet Jesus. I had no idea. Nobody does, because I haven't made it public, but I will if Diane keeps spreading lies about my mental state. I'll play this recording for the entire congregation if I have to. That won't be necessary. I'll speak to Diane. Make it clear that her story doesn't match reality. Patricia, I'm sorry. No mother should have to go through this. No mother should have to hear her children planning to steal from her either. But here we are. The Keller Legacy Fund officially launched in November. We found a small space on South Main, not far from where the original bakery had been. 6 workstations, 2 industrial ovens, storage for supplies. I hired Marcus, now 22, and graduated from culinary school to help run the program. The same Marcus who'd been one of my first teaching students 6 years ago when he aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. We took in 15 kids that first semester, kids aging out of the system, kids who'd been through more in 18 years than most people experienced in a lifetime. Kids who needed skills and structure, and someone who believed in them. Teaching them felt different than it had with Diane and Lauren. These kids were hungry in a way my daughters never had been, grateful for opportunities instead of entitled to them. They showed up early, stayed late, asked questions, practiced until their hands ached. A girl named Jasmine told me one afternoon, "Miss Patricia, you know what's crazy? My foster parents never taught me anything. Never showed me how to cook or clean or manage money. Nothing. They just collected the check and counted down the days until I aged out. But you're teaching us all this for free. Why? Because someone should have taught you. Because you deserve to know how to build something. Because these hands know how to knead dough, and that knowledge shouldn't die with me." She hugged me tight. "You're like the grandmother I never had." I held her and thought about Emma, about Jake, about my actual grandchildren who I barely saw anymore, about how I was giving strangers what my family had rejected. One evening in December, Lauren showed up at the teaching kitchen. I was working late, preparing for the next day's lesson. She stood in the doorway, looking small and tired. "Emma told me where to find you." "What do you want, Lauren?" "To talk, really talk, not to ask for money or make excuses, just to talk." "I'm listening." She walked in slowly, looking around at the workstations, the ovens, the supplies. "This is what you chose over us? Teaching strangers to bake?" "I chose dignity over being exploited. The teaching kitchen is just where that choice led me." "We lost the house, Josh and I. We're moving into an apartment in Cordova, downsizing. Emma's devastated. She's losing her room, her neighborhood, her school." I felt that twist again, that uncomfortable something that wasn't quite guilt, but wasn't quite indifference either. "I'm sorry that's happening to Emma. She doesn't deserve to suffer for your mistakes." "Neither do I, Mama." "Yes, I planned something terrible. Yes, I was wrong. But haven't I been punished enough? I lost my house. My marriage is falling apart. My daughter looks at me differently now, and I lost you. Isn't that enough payment for a mistake?" "That wasn't a mistake. A mistake is an accident. What you did was calculated, planned, coordinated with your sister. You only stopped because you got caught, not because your conscience intervened." Lauren stood there in my teaching kitchen, looking at the space I'd chosen over her. "You're right. It wasn't a mistake. It was desperation that turned into cruelty. It was resentment that I didn't even know I was carrying. Resentment that you always seemed fine, always seemed strong, always seemed like you didn't need anyone. So you punished me for being strong? I punished you for making it look easy, for never showing us how hard it was, for lying about where the money came from when we needed it. You let us believe grandmother left us an inheritance when really you were sacrificing everything. Why did you lie, Mama?" "I set down the dough I'd been working because I didn't want you to feel guilty. I wanted you to feel proud, to feel like you'd earned your success. But we didn't earn it. You bought it for us. And then you resented us for not appreciating what we didn't even know you'd given. That stopped me, because there was truth in it. Uncomfortable truth. Maybe I did resent you. A little. When the weekly calls stopped, when the visits dried up, when you moved to Germantown and seemed embarrassed by Beale Street, by the bakery, by me. We were never embarrassed by you, weren't you? When's the last time you brought your friends to meet me? When's the last time you invited me to your house in Germantown? You kept me separate from your new life. Like I was something from your past, you'd moved beyond. Lauren's eyes filled with tears. I was trying to protect you. From what? From people like Diane's boss who'd make comments about inner-city neighborhoods. From Brad's parents who'd say things about Beale Street being dangerous. From all the casual racism that comes with living in white suburbs as a black woman who married white. I didn't want you to hear those things. Didn't want you to feel small. So you made me invisible instead? I made a terrible choice. I kept you away to protect you, but really I was protecting myself, from having to defend you. From having to explain that my mother wasn't an embarrassment, she was extraordinary. I took the coward's way out. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen before. Not greed, not cruelty. Just a woman caught between two worlds, trying to navigate waters I'd never had to swim in. I'd built my life in Black Memphis, surrounded by community that understood me. Lauren had married into white Memphis, where she was always other, always explaining, always proving she belonged. Why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you say it was hard? Because you made it look so easy. You built a business. You raised us. You lost Daddy and kept going. You were this tower of strength, and I was just drowning in debt and bad decisions and wondering why I couldn't be like you. I'm not a tower, Lauren. I'm a 70-year-old woman who works herself to exhaustion because stopping means facing loneliness, who teaches strangers because her own family stopped needing her, who changed her will out of hurt and anger, and who's been wondering for 6 months if she was right or just cruel. You were right. What we planned was unforgivable. But Mama, I'm asking anyway. Not for money, not for inheritance, just for a chance to rebuild something. Me and Emma, I don't expect Diane will ever come back. She's too proud. But I'm here. I'm asking. I thought about Emma. About my granddaughter who called every week. About the drawings she'd sent me, pictures of the two of us baking together. About the birthday card she'd made that said, "You're my favorite person, Grandma." Emma can visit any time. The door is always open for her. And me? You can visit too. But Lauren, I'm not changing the will back. The foundation stays. The money goes to those kids who need it. That doesn't change just because you apologized. I understand. I don't deserve the money. I never did. I just want my mother back. Then you'll have to earn that. Show up. Not when you need something. Not when you want something. Just show up. Help with the teaching program. Get to know these kids. Understand why they matter to me. Prove that you want a relationship, not an inheritance. I can do that. I will do that. She did. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, Lauren showed up at the teaching kitchen. She helped prep ingredients, cleaned workstations, talked to the kids about their lives. She got to know Jasmine and Marcus and Deshawn and all the others. She saw what I saw in them: potential, hunger, gratitude. Diane never came, never called, never reached out. I heard she'd told Emma and Jake they weren't allowed to visit me, that I was a bitter old woman who'd chosen strangers over family. Jake believed her. At 15, he was old enough to pick sides, and he picked his mother's. I mourned that loss, mourned the relationship with my grandson that would probably never recover. But I didn't regret my choice, because some prices are worth paying, some boundaries are worth enforcing, even when they hurt. Today, I'm 71 years old. The Keller Legacy Fund has helped 47 kids learn trades that changed their lives. Marcus runs his own catering business now. Jasmine manages a restaurant in Cooper Young. Deshawn teaches culinary arts at Southwest Community College. Lauren and I have dinner every Sunday. Not the relationship we had before. Something different. Something more honest. Built on understanding instead of assumption. On truth instead of obligation. Emma graduates high school next year. She wants to go to culinary school, carry forward what I've taught her. Not because she's entitled to it, because she loves it, because she chose it. I still have $2.5 million in the foundation. Still planning to give every penny to kids who need it. Still standing by the choice I made that Father's Day when I heard my daughters plan to steal from me. People ask if I regret it. Cutting off Diane, nearly losing Lauren, giving away money that could have helped my family. I tell them about Marcus and Jasmine and Deshawn and all the kids who had nobody. I tell them about Emma, who visits because she wants to, not because she's obligated. I tell them about Lauren, who shows up twice a week to help strangers bake bread. Then I ask if $2.5 million could have bought me anything better than that. They usually stop asking. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes family isn't about blood. Sometimes the best inheritance isn't money. It's teaching people they matter for who they are, not what they stand to inherit. And sometimes the loneliest decision you ever make is also the rightest one. Where are you watching this from? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-respect? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss another story. Thanks for watching. Remember, you don't owe anyone access to what you built just because you share DNA. Real love doesn't come with conditions. And sometimes, protecting yourself isn't cruelty. It's survival. See you in the next video.